Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Witches of the Moon. My name is Jen and I'm your Tuesday host. This week we are going to be talking about icons in the craft. And, there are many people who are icons or who can be considered icons. The one that I'm going to be talking about is Judika Illes. She's an author of several books, and she got her interest in the occult or magic and everything else at a young age of 6 when her sister gifted her with a tarot deck. And, her sister was in college. She, in an interview that I had listened to, and I didn't listen to all of it, she had said that she was basically an accident, but she was a happy accident. So, it was like growing up as an only child. Judika lived in New York, and she still lives in New York. At some point, if we're ever in New York at the same time, I might actually get to meet her. I became aware of Judika years ago when my husband and I did an online talk show. And we interviewed her, this would have been like 2009, 2010. We interviewed her on her book of the witches. And in that book, I'm not gonna go into great detail of the books, as we'd be here a while if I did, and I have a lot of things to do today. But her book on the witches, I mean, she actually, will give you definitions of what people think a witch is and stuff, and depending on whether you're thinking of the Hollywood witch or the cartoon witch or whatever, So in an interview, and if I can find it, which I'm sure I can, I didn't listen to the entire interview, but in an interview she was asked, if she was a witch, and her answer back was, it depends on what your definition of a witch is. So, and I think that's really awesome that, depending on what your definition is, she's not somebody that's evil or anything else. So if you're going to describe a witch as somebody that's evil and does harmful things, then no, she's not a witch. So, and I like that. I like that she sets her own definition for that instead of letting someone else define what she is for themselves. But anyways, the book that we interviewed her about, she talks about a number of different things, and she goes into the different types of craft and, Wicca and the different branches and what have you. And so, again, just go read the book. If you haven't read the book, you can get it from Amazon. I'm sure you can get it from Barnes & Noble. You can get it in book format. You can get it in Kindle format. If your local library has any of these books, or if you're part of the Evergreen system and it's in the Evergreen system, then by all means request those books. They will send them to your local library, and you can then pick them up. If not, see if your local library will purchase those books, because they do purchase books and they do have them there. So it may take some time, but, or you can just go purchase them yourself and have them in your own collection, which is what I have done with a lot of them, although I'm trying to find her first edition books. But anyways, I digress. Judika Illes, she was born in New York, and she still lives in New York. She got her first tarot deck by her sister at the age of 6. The name of that tarot deck is The Builders of the Adytum, or the BOTA. I do have some notes here on Judika. In 2005, in an interview, she was asked to describe this deck, and she described it as being formidable and very esoteric, and something that you wouldn't normally give to a child of her age as their first deck. As a teen, she did go and visit, other bookstores like the Magical Child, but I don't think the Magical Child is there anymore. It might be, I don't know. But she became interested in astrology at that time, and the book that got that started was Zolar's It's All in the Stars. So if you can get that book, or if you have that book, that's the book that got Judika hooked on astrology. Now, she has a Bachelor of Arts in English and Communication. She went to Rutgers College. She earned a graduate certificate in aromatherapy from the American College of Healthcare Sciences. And she worked as a telephone psychic for Psychic Friends Network from 91 to 93. And then she went on to become an author of reference books. She contributed to magazine articles, and she's also been on numerous radio shows. Now I know she's also a editor for Wiser still. And in the interview that I will post below, I know she at one point was talking about where she actually got to go to the Wiser bookstore. Again, I don't know what year that was. I don't know if it's still there in New York. If it is, that's a place that I would love to visit. Now, Judika has many books on many different topics, and she has a whole list of not only that, but articles that she's written, and I will link this in the description bar as to where I found this information as well. But some of the books is the Big Book of Practical Spells, Everyday Magic That Works. That was published in 2016. Now, there was a book that was published prior to that. That is just the, the book that I just read, the Big Book of Practical Spells, is a newer version of this book. But the first book that she had written, and it was published in 2007, was Pure Magic, A Complete Course in Spellcasting. And so that's the original book. And then it was it's come out again by a different name. And there's another book, The Earth Mother Magic, Ancient Spells for Modern Bells. And I guess a newer edition, a foreword was added to the 2016 version, so I guess there is a new version of that out. I'm not sure if it's the same book by the same name, but I do have that version. I do have the first edition book. I was lucky enough to find this, believe it or not, in Half Price Books. We were in, it's a store in Greenwood. They do have a website, you can order books online, but I actually found this there, and I purchased this book. I think I paid like $5 for this book. I didn't pay very much for it, but it is a first edition, and it's really interesting. It talks about many different things, a selection of dream herbs, and talks about making prophetic dream pillows and fly me to the moon and astral projection pillows. So it's different things. Talks about incense, Florida water formula, aura cleansing incense, just a ton of different things in this book. Tarot card, growth ritual, a lot of different things in this book. I love this book. I came home from there, and I sent her a message, and I was like, look what I got. And she's like, hang on to that book, it'll be worth something. And to me, whether it's worth something or not, money wise, doesn't matter to me. It's worth something to me and special to me because of the fact that I was able to interview her, and I absolutely love that. So I do have some other books. Some I have right here with me, some are on my bookshelf, and I'm not going to go look for them because we'd be here all day. Another book that she has, now this one I have not read, it was out in 2016, is the Wiser Book of the Fantastic and Forgotten, Tales of the Supernatural, Strange and Bizarre, the collection of stories by other authors. It was edited by Judika with her introduction, and so that again was published by Wiser in 2016. The Encyclopedia of Mystic Saints and Sages, a complete guide to asking for protection, wealth, happiness, and everything else. That was published in 2011. And I actually have that book right here. We were going to interview Judika on this book. This book was actually sent to me by Judika herself. Unfortunately, that never happened because her schedule was very busy. Ours was very busy, and then we ended up not doing the show anymore. Not because we didn't have listeners. There was just some things that I thought should happen, and my husband didn't think it should happen, so we ended up not doing the show anymore. And but I've been asked to come back and do interviews again, and I may do that in the future because I've been asked by many publishers over the years. I still to this day have publishers sending me people who they think would be great for the show, and so that may be something that I take on maybe next year, because I do have a website of my own coming out. But if I do, it will just be me doing the interviews, and I will just have to figure out a different format as to how I would do them. But anyways, back to what we're talking about. Another book is The Wiser Field Guide to the Paranormal. Now, she wrote that book under the name of Judith Joyce. This is not under her Judika Ellis name, although I think Amazon does list this book with her. When you look in Judika Ellis, I think this book will come up. If not, just type in paranormal and I'm sure you'll find it. Now, this book I'm sure you can get at the library. Again, if your library is part of the Evergreen system, then you will be able to have access to this book if it's in that program. I think that's a really, really good book for paranormal investigators. As a paranormal investigator myself, I encourage everyone in our group to read anything and everything that they can get their hands on, to be open, to not be rude or disrespectful to anyone's belief. And for the most part, you know, I can honestly say I've never had an issue with anyone in our group, former or group members that we have now, that of being disrespectful or telling someone that they shouldn't believe a certain way. So I encourage everyone to read that book as well. I encourage everybody to read in general. I think reading is one of the greatest ways to learn about different things and then go out and apply those things if you wish. Another book that she has written is The Wiser Field Guide to Witches. Like I said, that's the book that we interviewed her about, and that came out in 2010. And The Encyclopedia of Spirits, the ultimate guide to the magic of fairies, genies, demons, ghosts, gods, and goddesses. And that was published in 2009. I do have that book. It is on my bookshelf, and it will take me a long time to find it. I really, really enjoy that book a lot. Like I said, as a paranormal investigator, you get people who will say, well, I think this is what it is, or this is what I'm, you know, this is what's going on. And they will throw out different names to you, whether it's, you know, whatever. They will throw it out to you. And so one of the things, again, you know, I tell people all the time, go and do your research, find out what it is they think it is, because what they think it is, 9 times out of 10 isn't what they think it is. I get many people calling me and saying, I have a demon in my house, and I'm like, how do you know you have a demon? How do you know? So research, and she has done the hard work for you. Her books are great for that. If you're interested in something and you want to know about something, it's there, you know, which is why I put her as an icon, because, you know, it's just amazing. If you haven't read her books, if you don't know anything about her, go check them out, because you will find a ton of information. This woman does her homework. And let's see, The Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells, and previously published as the Element Encyclopedia of 5,000 Spells, the ultimate reference book for the magical arts. Now, I do have this book. I really want to get the first edition book without paying an arm and a leg for it. If I could find one of these, I'd be super happy. My goal is to have every one of her first edition books. Another one is Magic When You Need It, 150 Spells You Can't Live Without. Again, this was previously published as Emergency Magic, 150 Spells. And The Element Encyclopedia of Witchcraft, a complete A to Z guide of the entire magical world. And that was published in 2005. I do have that book right here. And I got this secondhand from Amazon. And it's no joke. I mean, there's almost 900 pages in this book. So it is a really good book. It's a great reference book. All of her books I thoroughly enjoy, and like I said, just go and check them out. And it's kind of interesting. Here's a little side note. The book, she hadn't set out to write a book on spellcasting, but she had written another book, and the publisher asked her to write a book on magical spells and stuff, and because there was a topic in there on magical spells. And the book that she had written, and it's not published yet to my knowledge, in 2011 she had said that she might publish that book, but it was on methods of enhancing fertility, and it contained a chapter about magical spells, and that's how Pure Magic, a complete course in spell casting, came about. So just from that one book that never got published came about a book that did get published. So it would be interesting to see if that book ever gets published, or if it's published under a different name, or whatever. That's something that I will have to ask Judica about later on. But anyhow, as I said, the reason why I chose her was because of the interview. The reason why I think she's an icon is because this woman thoroughly does her homework, and she, gives you a lot of information, and it's not, there's not a lot of her opinions in there. She gives you the facts, and I love that about that. And from speaking to her, she's absolutely super nice, and people get her name pronounced wrong, and she never corrects them. And on the web there is a thing where it tells you how to pronounce her name, and before we did our interview, we always made sure we were pronouncing names correctly when we said it. So I do know that I am pronouncing her name correctly. So anyways, I will list her website below in the description box as well as some other links. If I can find the interview that we did, I will put it up on my YouTube channel. I will find other interviews that I listened to, and the information that I found on Judica, because there's not a lot of information about Judica on the web other than what I have and what's on her website. And I know there are numerous interviews, so if you want to listen to those interviews, they're on YouTube. Just go type her name in, and I'm sure there's a ton of things that will come up about her. So anyways, that's all I have for today for this topic, and I will see you the next time, actually next Tuesday, so with a new topic. So until then, have a great day, and I'll see you then.